Coming up on this episode of Linux User Space, Mozilla Watch. Simon Peter refines our take on AppImages. That there Freenode kerfuffle. And no teary, just geary. Hey, and welcome to Season 2 of Linux User Space. Yeah, 2. I'm Leo.
And I'm Dan.
And I've got new stuff.
Nice.
Some new stuff. So Dan, you built all these computers, and I couldn't let that stand. I couldn't let that go unanswered. So I had to build one too.
Nice.
I was coming off of a Ryzen 7 1700, which, by the way, as of the recording right now, is not compatible with Windows 11. Do you know this?
Oh, yeah. Well, that doesn't surprise me. No TPM chip in there, is there?
I'd never checked, but I think the CPU itself is that why the CPU is not on the list of things that Windows will like after 2025?
Yeah, probably because you need the trusted platform module so that Windows can say, yeah, okay, we can install on that.
Ah,
yeah.
So I saw the TPM chips that are like $15 are now $100.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, everything's jumped, astronomically.
Because we can't get enough of this scalping. I think first it was graphics cards, then the 5900X that I wanted. No, you can't have that
graphics
either.
cards and still processors. I mean, and this is just adding on to that for sure.
I was so afraid that when I got the CPU that I got, that the 5900X would be available immediately after I bought it, and that I'd have to return it, or I'd be out of the return window, and I would just be out of luck. But no, you still can't buy a 5900X, which that's exactly what I wanted. But I felt like, do I need 12 cores?
Well,
no. Do I want 12 cores?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I want 12 cores. Maybe one day, not today. So yeah.
What'd you settle on? What'd you settle with?
A 5800X, which is the step down. It's okay. I am not upset in any way whatsoever with the performance. For a little bit, I guess, I was upset with the cooling situation.
Okay.
So we had a conversation about this during our kind of ramp up to Season 2, and I mean 90 degrees. That's toasty on any CPU I have ever owned. Even the earlier, hotter AMD like 955 Black Edition, those things were toasty back then. But not a single CPU have I ever owned even got it close to 90C, unless it was some kind of mechanical failure or some kind of I built it wrong kind of thing, right?
Forgot the thermal paste, something like that, right?
Exactly, right? No, I reseated this thing multiple times. I swapped coolers. It's just hot.
It's just a hot
chip.
Yep.
So I did look it up. I did find, I think it was PC Mag or PC World or something like that, had an interview with the marketing guy from AMD, and straight up, the answer to that is, no, that's fine. 90C is fine.
That's incredibly hot, I feel like.
Yeah, it is. I think it is. I think that's really hot, but AMD doesn't seem to think so. So I'm okay. It's okay.
I guess if it's a normal operating parameter, then that's fine. Yep.
Honestly, okay, I said that it's fine. It's not fine. I still took some measures to kind of crank that back a little bit. Turns out AMD has this thing called eco mode.
Okay.
That you can scale back how much power you give the CPU to kind of, to save energy, really. But an added benefit of that is you don't get so much of that single core boost, which will throttle the temperatures a little bit. So I think the highest temperatures I see anymore on a 95 watt eco threshold, I guess we could call it, is about 85 C.
Oh, that's not so bad. Well, and so the other thing with that is you mentioned it. It's the single core temperature. It's not the whole die temperature.
Right. So I'm okay with this. 85 is fine. I did do some testing with the 65 watt eco mode, and I didn't see above 70.
Nice. So that would keep your fans nice and quiet and cool and not noisy. Yeah, so that would be nice in that sort of environment if that was important to you.
Right, absolutely. So I started off with a Cooler Master Liquid 120 V2 RGB, a bunch of letters to just mean it's an all-in-one with a single 120 millimeter fan and pretty lights.
That should run fairly good, I would think.
I agree. And according to marketing guy, it should have. And because 90 is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so it did hit 90 on that cooler. I probably could have stayed with that cooler. I didn't. I decided because I was scared of 90C to move over to a Hyper 212 Evo and have in a push-pull, have 2 fans on it and get that air out of there. I saw, I don't know, maybe a 5C improvement.
Yeah,
on just
that's
about
a great
everything.
cooler, and I would expect at least 5 to 10, maybe 10, depending on the CPU. And so, yeah, that's nice. That falls in line.
Yep. And I'm happy with that. It's actually much quieter. So one thing I learned with this all-in-one cooler situation is that even on the small pumps, the big pumps, all the pumps are loud.
Yeah.
I mean, I was under the impression that you went water cooling or liquid cooling because you wanted things to be so whisper quiet you didn't even know your computer was on.
Mm-hmm.
I had that before on air. I have that now again on air, but it was way louder with the pump.
Listening to the pump.
So, yeah. So, I mean, at best, I hear a little rushing breeze.
Okay.
Not anything that would, grab your attention or anything like that. But that pump, I feel like that pump was kind of loud. Maybe other brands' pumps aren't so loud, but yeah, the Cooler Master one was a little hot.
Well,
or a little loud.
Yeah, anything mechanical like that's going to have some sound coming from somewhere. I mean, how loud is it going to be, right?
Yeah. Well, it didn't dawn on me. Dan.
No.
I didn't think about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's totally for quiet people. Yeah, totally.
No, that's the idea. Yeah.
So the rest of the rig is MSI MPG B550 Gaming Plus. Caveat here. They have almost an identical motherboard, MSI. They have a Tomahawk Plus or Tomahawk Pro or something like that.
Okay.
When you drill down, it's the same motherboard.
Oh.
With just a different Northbridge cooler on it.
No.
Like,
well,
why would you do that?
That doesn't make any difference at all.
No. Why would you make 2 of the same exact motherboard and kind of saturate your own market and confuse people? I don't know. So I saw review after review that it didn't matter. Just pick whichever one was on sale.
Okay.
So I did. And it looks fine. It's got RGB on it too. I brought over my 5700 XT. I bought 32 gigs of 3600 megahertz G.Skill Trident Z Neo. So more RGB.
Nice.
Right?
This is really lighting up.
Okay, so when you shut off all the lights and you leave the room, the whole room is still lit up.
Yeah,
so,
I bet.
Yeah. And I've got a Western Digital Black NVMe coming to me today, probably. I haven't seen it yet. Maybe the rain scared them off, but that'll be here soon enough.
Yeah, those are good. That's what I put in both of the kids' machines was the Western Digital Black NVMe's, and
okay,
they've been very happy with them. 500 gigs, I think I put in both of them. Yep,
that's what I went for. Yep, that's fantastic because I have a Western Digital Blue in my NAS at the same size, and it's been fantastic. I mean, the thing boots up seriously from a reboot. 10 seconds from the moment you press enter on sudo reboot on an SSH session until you're able to get another SSH prompt. So
wow, that's quick.
Yeah, and so the Black is supposed to be way faster than that.
Yeah,
I don't know that I need it to be faster than that.
No, why not?
But coming from, you remember those days back in the day where you'd reboot a computer, but you could also turn on the coffee pot and have a cup of coffee by the time you sit back down and get to work?
Yeah, no, that's not it. No, this is not that time.
Those days are gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those days are gone.
Yeah, my son has been very happy. He runs Pop OS, and he's been very happy with his. He's got the 3600, Ryzen 5 CPU, and very similar specs. He's got the Radeon RX 5500,
right?
And the Western Digital Black, and that's been working well for him. So
fantastic. So, you brought up Pop OS, and I've been using Pop OS a whole lot more in my daily life these past few months that we've been on break. And One thing I learned watching a lot of the Windows 7 thing, or Windows 11 kind of, all the information that's coming out, none of it's set in stone, and I know that anything would just be complaining about nothing, is that if you wanted to turn on Secure Boot, Pop! OS is going to have an issue with that. I did not know this before, but none of their kernels are signed, right? So that means that the Secure Boot wouldn't work if you try to dual boot between Windows 11 and Pop! OS.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you can turn off Secure Boot on Windows 11. I think that's the thing. That's why you need the trusted platform and all that other, making sure your boot structure doesn't get tampered with, which is good.
Yeah,
but,
well, that's the current boogeyman I've been seeing all over the internet about all that stuff. Is one of the things is that if you turn off these features, then Windows 11 will recommend, or if not force, you to go back to Windows 10. None of this is set in stone. None of this.
There are other distributions though that you can use that have Secure Boot.
Fedora, OpenSUSE, and Ubuntu.
Yeah, right. They all do, right? So I mean, just because Pop! OS, and I'm not sure. Pop! OS might have been working on that, and maybe they've solved. I don't know. I'm not personally, in the know. They may have Secure Boot solved too,
right?
Since they are a distribution. They're a manufacturer and a software and hardware distribution. So maybe they have that solved.
I hope so. My current research says that they don't yet. I know that it's on the list of things to do, but it isn't yet. And so that makes me wonder, I guess, if I decided to upgrade to Windows 11 sometime in the future and all of those things stay true between now and then, is that going to work? Is Pop! OS going to be ready for that? I mean, they've got a huge amount of time, I'm sure, before Windows 11 actually releases and actually has these, roadblocks still in place. But I guess that's something to be seen. I've been watching that fairly closely here over the past few weeks.
Well, Secure Boot's been evolving for a decade now, so it just seems like, we should be getting it solved at some point, right?
Exactly. So hopefully that is the case. Hopefully System 76 and Pop! OS get that all sorted out right around Windows 11 launch. That way there's no friction.
That would be great. Yeah, that would be good.
Heck yeah. And now it's time for everybody's favorite section, Mozilla Watch.
Yeah.
Have we been watching Mozilla these past few months?
Well, I haven't let my eye off of it.
Not me either. It's still my daily driver. I can't get away from it.
It's not necessarily my daily driver, but I do use it quite a bit. So
blasphemy, Dan. That's inappropriate for this show. This show is rated G or PG or something like that, and them's fighting words.
Well, not G. That'd be like Google or something. We're not that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, no. I don't think. Do you use Chrome ever?
I don't use Chrome directly, no.
Okay. We use Chromium derivatives, right?
I do. I use Vivaldi most of the time. Most of the time, that's my thing.
Yep.
It's got, well, one of my favorite things about it altogether is just the way the workflow happens because of the tab management stuff. Nobody else has that, and so that's the clear cutaway feature that I really love.
Yep, and we have Edge being the closest in that you can shift them, but it's nothing like Vivaldi, right?
It's not the
Vivaldi,
same.
You stick your tabs wherever you want your tabs. They don't put any kind of restriction on you. I mean, everybody else is top tabs, and Edge is, you can move them to the side if you'd like.
Yeah.
Or you can move them back,
but
that's it.
I like to stack them, and I like to tile them. I like both of those things that I can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, you have you've done something to me, Dan. I can't stop thinking about those, like the stacked tabs.
That's pretty cool.
It's such an interesting feature. Because the scenario that I came up with a lot of times is that sometimes you just get into like a YouTube rabbit hole when you're researching something or you're learning about some Linux technology and there's 8 videos that you want to watch, but you don't want it to clutter up. Okay, you know what? There are people out there, I'm talking to you, with the 87 tabs open. It's too many tabs.
Yeah.
How do you know? They're just icons up there at that point. It's so much work to figure out what you want.
This organizes that for you, and then you don't have to. It doesn't get into a cluttered up mess.
Exactly. So I'm
that's
like a dozen tabs is too much. I got to close it down. I got to start closing tabs at this point. It's too many. I can't handle it. But anyway,
that's the clear cutaway feature that I love.
Exactly. Yep. Those are fantastic. I can't stop thinking about them. But we digress. We need to talk about Mozilla and this redesign. So I think they waited until we went on break to bring this redesign out, because otherwise, we'd have been right on it. So
yeah, so tab size here is the opposite of what you get with Vivaldi. Just so you know.
Yeah,
we went from teeny tiny ones to huge tabs.
Yeah, they are large. I'm not in love with the size of them, but I don't necessarily think that the extra, and it's just 6 pixels, by the way. The extra 6 pixels is too much.
No, it's
but
not.
It's right on the verge there. I mean,
it's noticeable. 6 pixels is a noticeable amount, actually. Surprisingly,
I would have guessed way more. I would have been like 10 pixels, 12 pixels, 20 pixels, way more than 6. I don't know why it looks so huge in comparison, but it's not.
It's not that bad. But yeah, it feels bigger and it's good. So it has the tone of accessibility, I guess. That is kind of great, right? You'd be able to grab onto those things and select them. I think that makes them more accessible. So that seems like a nice feature. Until
you start playing any kind of audio in these tabs.
Yeah, you want to mute that tab.
Stop it. Yeah. So the motions and what you do are exactly the same. It's what you're presented with when you're not hovering over the tab, right? I've kind of grown over these past couple of weeks fond of it. Yeah. I don't necessarily dislike it, but the font is so small that if you have any trouble reading anything, it's going to be tough to see that, something is playing, or it's autoplay blocked, or it's paused, or muted tab, or, whatever words come up.
I think the thing about it is you have to actually hover over the little icon in order to know whether it's muted or not. You don't get, like before, you had the little speaker symbol with the cross out thing if it was muted.
Right.
That was right there visible. But the problem with it was, and I think the problem with it was right next to the close button. So you could easily mess those up because it was on the right hand side of the tab. Now it's over on the left where like the favicon or whatever is over there. And then so you have to hover over that in order to do the muting stuff. And so it makes it a dual purpose area, and you aren't going to close your tab, which I think is nice, but you can't easily tell which tab is, you need to go muting, I guess, if you're unmute or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look for the word.
You have to look for it.
That's a huge departure from, ever since every single browser ever integrated that feature into everything.
Well, icon is more universal than the written word. So
exactly.
Yeah.
That I think is the crux of the issue. It didn't need fixing, but
right.
we fixed it anyway. So
yeah.
I'm okay with it. I mean,
I'm okay with it too. But
I also have, the ability to read teeny tiny text on a teeny tiny, bigger now, tab. And I'm able to act on that. But I imagine if you have any trouble whatsoever reading that text or anything like that, it's going to be a challenge for you. So I don't mind it, but I can see how some people might struggle with it. So that maybe a little improvement. I don't know. Just get rid of the favicon and just plop the little icon there, and the little sound icon instead. I think people would appreciate that way more than having the YouTube icon and, having the little sound icon behind it.
So, here's a question. Does the word take up as much space as actually adding the icon there? Well, I mean, or putting that at the front of the tab name, next to the favicon. Maybe you got another symbol
true.
next to it, right? So when you actually write out muted or whatever, doesn't that take up the same amount of space that an icon would, or pretty close to it?
The icon would have to be pretty small because the text is pretty small.
Yeah, but it's close, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, honestly, your idea is fantastic. I like that better.
Just squish it over a little bit.
Yep. Sound icon, favicon, title, no need for words. Everybody without reading, even people that cannot read, 6-year-olds, I'm looking at you, can still.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Still, right? You can figure that out. And, folks folks like that aren't, it's harder for them to get a hold of the whole, playing, muted, autoplay, blocked, whatever thing, kind of figure it out.
I think it just registers in your mind a lot faster, so you're able to process it, that much better.
It does. There's a reason we went to icons. There's a reason why hieroglyphics are, pretty decent in a lot of cases.
Yeah, you could say a lot of things with a picture.
Yep, exactly. But speaking of picture, they removed them out of the hamburger menu. I hate saying that word, but hamburger menu.
Pancake menu?
Yeah, I like that. Waffle? No, that's a Google thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that thing where all your options and print and bookmarks and all that stuff. We had icons there, and now we don't.
Now we don't. Now we got all words again.
Okay. All right. Well, that's that. Again, I'm of the same mind. I can figure it out. I don't really ever go in there for any reason other than to click on settings anyway.
Right.
So.
You probably don't go there a lot. Yeah, well, and here's another nice thing, though, is with the new Firefox, when you first, start it up, it asks you a few questions and goes through a few things. Asks you what do you want for a theme as far as dark, light, follow the system theme, that sort of thing.
That was nice.
That's nice. So that saves me from going into the menu and figuring out, how to turn it one way or the other. So I can do it right there as soon as I start up. And, I think that's a good feature.
Yeah, heck yeah. Definitely so. So yeah, the experience that you get when you first install Firefox is actually pretty good. I like that.
Yep, I think they've vastly improved that, honestly.
Yeah, Vivaldi's is better though.
Well, it is. It runs you through
What?
a few more things. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So
how much Vivaldi do you want?
Yeah, there it is, man. Just give me the essentials. I only need the basics. But that is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything else is pretty much the same. From a I use it all the time kind of standpoint, the icons on the the back and forward and refresh and whatever, those kinds of icons, they've got a little bit of a facelift, but generally everything is in the same spot, everything looks the same. So really it just seemed to me to be just cosmetic things that have changed. Outside of the little things that that Mozilla will do, like web render is now better in 89.0.1, and there was a Linux specific fix in 89.0.2. Those little things, those will always happen. But I feel like overall the facelift is pretty good. I don't dislike it at all. I've come to terms with the little playing thing.
Yep. Yeah, same here.
So yeah. Overall, it's pretty good. I do like it.
I'll say the other thing that you got me going on was Firefox on the mobile. And when they first did their big makeover on Firefox on the mobile, I ditched that really fast. I'm just going to say it was pretty awful experience compared to the way it was before. And so I tried the new Firefox on my mobile, and I'm liking that a lot better than I did initially. So that's been a big improvement. I've been able to, get back to the way I had it working pretty much for the most part before, and it hasn't crashed a lot. That was another problem I had when they first came out with that. It crashed way more than I liked.
Yeah,
that's
what I had heard. That's what I had heard. One of the things that I enjoyed when I was still on Android with Firefox is the ability to continue to add add-ons.
Oh,
like
yeah.
uBlock Origin was my favorite it's the one add-on. If I had to choose one add-on out of all the add-ons, it would be that one. And you could do that on Android. Can you still do that now?
I don't know. I need to try that. I need to try some add-on things.
Right. But one of the things that they do integrate into the browser, even on mobile, is the tracker protection.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the,
Yes.
And it'll block some ads. I imagine it's the loud, autoplay video ones that scream at you.
Yeah, the ones that take over your page and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes, and that's something that Chrome won't give you, and Safari won't necessarily give you.
Right. Vivaldi does some of that on the mobile. They'll block some of those things.
Right.
And Firefox isn't terrible at it, or at least I haven't noticed any horrible things taking over my browser. So
right,
and maybe
has screamed at me.
Yeah, maybe some of that, they just had to get that refined, and maybe that was what the crashing was all about. I don't know, but yeah, it's been a lot better.
Absolutely. Yep. So, I use Firefox as my daily on the phone. I use Firefox as a daily on the desktop. What's funny, and I've been thinking about using it, is I don't use Firefox Sync. You would think.
Oh, yeah.
If I use Firefox everywhere, I would probably use Sync, but I don't know. My tinfoil hat's on too tight.
Yeah, I don't do that either.
Like that.
Although I will say, so the password, if I was going to pick a password manager in a browser, I'd probably go with the Firefox one, because it's actually lockwise. It's not, I don't personally use it, but if I was going to, that would be the one I'd pick.
Yeah,
so it seems a little better.
Bitwarden. Yeah, we both use Bitwarden, but if it came down to it, if we had to use a browser one, I would probably put my trust in Lockwise over really anybody else's, to be honest.
Yep, I agree.
Definitely so. Well, what else you got on Firefox? Any other kind of cool thing? Anything that has upset you lately?
I don't know. There has been some conversation around. Well, so I spotted a new thing, and I haven't told you about this yet, actually. So this is a reveal.
Okay.
I noticed that Mozilla has started a project, and I guess it's been out for a little while, where they are taking voice samples, and they're basically utilizing those for accuracy in things, open source projects, because open source projects don't necessarily have access to all of those AI things. And so this is allowing them to do data analytics on real voices. And
well, unless you want to know what beans are, right?
Right. Yeah. Think about that.
What are beans?
Right. And let me look this up. It's basically they have two things.
So
you can contribute. You can contribute your voice.
Get out of here.
And you can also listen to other voices and give feedback about accuracy thereon too.
So. Well. If you ever had the question in your mind, how do you contribute to a free and open source project? Well, I guess this is one way to do that. And if I'm going to trust anybody with biometric data about myself, I probably won't. But if I would, it would probably be Mozilla.
You don't have to create an account to do this. So there's that as well.
Okay.
So this is called Common Voice.
Yes. Okay. I have heard this name, but okay. So tell me about this. What's this?
So let me read this right off the webpage.
All right.
It says, voice is natural. Voice is human. That's why we're excited about creating usable voice technology for our machines. But to create voice systems, developers need an extremely large amount of voice data. That's where we come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so most of the data that is used by large companies isn't available to the majority of the people.
Correct.
We think that stifles innovation. So we've launched Common Voice, a project to help make voice recognition open and accessible to everyone.
Okay, if Mycroft doesn't jump on this and, fully integrate all of the data that they possibly can off of this, Mycroft, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But this is fantastic. That's a really good point. Google is collecting and Apple is collecting all of this data all of the time. Every time you say, wait, do I say it, or do I do the weird hey, A word, and hey, S word, whatever, right? You say those things, and immediately those devices are recording and storing and analyzing and all this machine learning jazz about your voice, there has to be. And who better than Mozilla to put forward something that lets everybody else play in the sandbox, whereas there was no sandbox before. This is the sandbox.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
Okay.
Okay. And so I looked at this earlier, and it looks like it reset or whatever, but it seems to be a very popular thing to contribute to, because like I think their daily target is 1,200 voice clips a day contributed, and like 2,400 people, things listened to, and they had shattered that. There was like 8,100 voice clips that had been contributed like earlier. Wow. When I looked at it earlier today, and it reset at some point. It's at 61 now, but so they were nailing the mark on this. It seems to be very, very popular.
Wow. Okay, man. I mean, I love it. Because even Jingpad OS, right? I mean, they like skyrocketed past their original goal of $50,000. They hit like at $100,000 as a recording. But yeah, and so I love it when companies and groups and people that are working for Linux or for open source or for freedom, things like that, when they just totally skyrocket past what they wanted, that tells me that there's a ton of people out there that care about this stuff enough to, be nerdy enough to know about it in the first place, right? Because, I mean, is this newish?
I don't know how new it is. It's new to me. Yeah, and I know It's new to you. So, I mean, I thought it was pretty fantastic. I had to drop that in here somewhere, and you asked about more Mozilla stuff, so there we go.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, so for whatever your opinion on Mozilla is, I mean, they do a lot of good and a lot of good work. And this is just another notch in the belt of they really are about what they're talking about. They really are about, making this stuff free. Man, that's great. So can I just upload the podcast and let them have our voices? I mean, because we're already...
Maybe, yeah, right? I don't know.
That's hours and hours of content, Dan. Oh.
They're probably already listening to that anyway.
Okay, yeah, probably. Honestly, if they're not scraping podcasts and using that for voice data, I feel like you're doing kind of a disservice to yourself.
Yeah.
It's a content-rich area that you should be mining.
Well, especially with all the praise we pass their way.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I don't stab them as much as I should, but yeah, they do a lot of good. I like. So Simon Peter, who is the creator of AppImage and newly the creator of Hello System, had gone back and subtweeted. Is that the word? I don't know. I'm not hip to the Twitter language.
Tweeted to the tweet.
Yeah, you go, right? Yeah. So he was talking about our opinion or kind of our take, which was on the Nitrix episode.
Yes, it was. Yep.
That's it. And so he had some thoughts. So he had said, under that tweet, under our post of the Nitrix episode, he said, "Hello, AppImage author here. The recommended way to get an app image is straight from the original software author's download page, like on Windows and the Mac before app stores. In fact, this is why appimage.github.io, which is what we had used on the show to to get a lot of our app images," he continues, "does not contain direct download links. Personally, I think app stores, at least the commercial ones, are terrible. It's not the operating system vendor's business which applications you run. Just my 2 cents, and Epic Games seems to agree." So under that tweet, I subtweeted that one. How low can we go?
Yeah.
I tweeted to him, one of the Lust guys here, "Thanks for the work you put into AppImage. It made my time with Nitrix awesome. I don't mind the go get it paradigm. I do it a lot with devs now, like in my case with Discord, but I guess in Linux land, I'm so used to repos and FlatHub that I forget the old ways. I also like the first-party hosted app images being the official way to get them. My only gripe is that software isn't always AppImage, and it's hard to know if or when one will exist without a tracker of sorts, or a lot of legwork. Not AppImage's fault, just friction I've noticed. So we'll stop with the back and forth conversation right there. Dan, what do you think about that AppImages are meant to be hosted at the author's page? That is the official stance of the creator of AppImage. That's how it should be done.
I don't really have a problem with that. I think you're onto something with the discoverability aspect of things. It makes them harder to find just on a whim, right? Having a collection of them, even if it like appimage.github.io, even though that takes you to the actual page, I think having that collection of links someplace is a good thing in, getting the discoverability of the different app images that are out there and knowing what the possibilities are, because like you said, not all the applications are available in an app image format. So without that, I don't know.
Right. In a perfect world, we would have one way to get apps, not a repo, not Flatpak, not Snap, not AppImages, not. We would have one, everybody agreed on it way. And if that were AppImage, I think Simon Peter would be right, and there would be no discussion to be had. Go to the website, download the AppImage, double-click on it, and everybody's happy. That's the deal. But I think, and where I was coming from in that comment was, we don't live in that world.
Not yet.
Because we have, Krita is a good example on for Simon Peter's point. You go to krita.org, you download, if you're on Windows, you download the exe. If you're on Mac, you download the DMG. If you're on Linux, you download the AppImage. The end.
Right.
If you prefer Flatpak or Snap, or you just, don't know any better and you go to the software store and type in Krita, you're going to get one of those, not the AppImage.
Right.
But, that it's just, what if I wanted Firefox? Where do I get the AppImage of Firefox? I mean, there isn't an official AppImage of Firefox, and that's kind of the crux of the issue that I have with that, because you can't just go to Firefox. What is it? .com? I don't know. I never get Firefox that way, so I don't actually know what their website is. But you can't just go there and download it. So if that were the way to do it, if AppImage really was the de facto standard, then he would absolutely 100% unequivocally be right. Mm-hmm. But it's just not the world that we live in. We have too many options, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's actually a good thing.
I think it's a real good thing, honestly, to have too many options, and you find the one that works for you that way. And you get to stay in the ecosystem that you want to stay in. Mm-hmm. And it really pushes the applications out there to everyone.
Mm-hmm. So, you know what I would like to see, if Simon Peter really wants to push this idea forward, and that, websites should host their own app images, then what I would like to see is not a store. BAW is fantastic. Yeah. But not a store to go get them or anything like that. What I would like to see is maybe a sub-page on the AppImage webpage that lists all of the companies that make their own AppImage. So
the official ones. Get the official ones at these places.
Exactly. If I can go get an official thing, Bitwarden is a great example. You can get the Flatpak, you can get the Snap, but it's not official. Go get the Bitwarden AppImage, and that's official. You have the confidence level is boosted on that. Bitwarden puts it out themselves, so it's easy for you to download it and feel good about double-clicking on that executable and saying, "Yep, all of my passwords totally secure." Right?
Yeah. So if the developer creates the app image and they test the app image and then they promote the app image, then that's going to be the one that you probably want to go with, like you said. Yep. Like the other formats are also in existence, but that may not be the one that they push for harder. So it's not saying they won't work. It's just maybe not as tested. And
right.
that matters.
Exactly. I mean, I feel very confident running the Nextcloud Snap because Nextcloud publishes it.
Yeah, and it works.
Exactly. That's a very big sticking point for me. If it's official, that's how I'm gonna get it.
Right.
So yeah, if you're gonna make it official that way, then yeah, like trumpet it from the rooftops and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to swap over from whatever format I'm using to an app image because it's official.
Right. Well, he made another point that I want to touch on here, is that the stores, especially the commercial ones, and I can think of two of them, are horrible, and the W one is particularly horrible, in that it just has all kinds of crufty things, and it makes it very. At least I haven't used it in a little while, but I think it's still the same. It makes it hard to find actual programs that you want to use. Like they don't have a good system.
Right. I mean, we were kind of having this conversation before where, I mean, the Windows Store is like Google's Android store before they really got good at moderating what was going in there. You still get the one-off, creepy crawly in there, and same with the Apple Store, or what I don't even know what you
I think that's curated a little better, but it's also very closed, so that's not good either.
Well, once you ramp up at least the moderation of what goes into your store, I think you have a better experience. But I mean, to Simon's point, I mean, they're not amazing.
No,
so
they're not.
I can totally see having the curated apps up at the top telling you what you want to download or what you should use for a specific instance, or
well, even if you listed them by popularity, I suppose it'd be better than what they've got going on.
Yeah, probably, definitely. So Simon goes on to say a little bit later, but let's also think of the users who are already on an application webpage. There often used to be a downloadable file for Windows and one for Mac, but none for Linux before AppImage. But long-winded distribution-specific instructions likely involving the command line. He's got a really good point here.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah.
Linux ain't ever going to be adopted unless it's easy. And if you can get people to do what they already know, which is download a file and double click on it, then it's probably not going to be as easy. It's not going to be easy enough.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the operating system's only a little bit of it. Like getting it installed, we've gone through those enough times to figure out which ones are easy and which ones are not, and can you install it alongside your Windows and or not, and all of those things. We've gone over that before, and I think the next step is, well, what applications can I actually run on that, right? Because that's the biggest challenge. And if you don't make that experience easy, then people are going to be turned off from that.
Right. And I mean, Canonical's doing a great job of putting together snaps and all of that kind of thing.
Well, there's snaps, and there's a lot of applications in the repos themselves. So
exactly.
I mean, that makes it great. There's some of the the other distributions are doing the same thing. They're hitting the mark. They got Flatpaks; those are also helpful, and Fedora's got a bunch of stuff in their repos. Debian,
right?
All of those people, right? So when you start,
one thing that caught me off guard was Plex Amp. So back in the before time, I bought the Plex Lifetime Pass.
Yeah.
And that allows you to use Plex Amp, which is basically just like, Spotify,
right,
for your own collection. And it's amazing. I love it. But it's a flat pack now. So it's just way easy for me to get it. So it's easy for me to gravitate toward that and use that kind of thing.
Yeah. We got to get the applications in front of the people, because that's going to be what they need, what they want. They want it easy. They don't want to have to go through they don't want to compile things and install and make this, make that. Nobody wants to do that stuff.
And there's already someone that runs Arch telling us that the AUR is super easy.
Well, even the AUR, so technically, if you were going to do an application from the AUR, you would build it yourself, not use an AUR helper, and you're actually building the application real time on your machine when you pull something down from there. It's not a binary. You're not pulling down the binary. You're pulling down the build script to actually build that in real time. But like we said, the people that run stuff from the AUR want to run that way because they know what goes into it. But somebody just wanting to run the application is not going to go through all that effort.
Yep, exactly. So I think overall Simon's really on a good thing. I mean, AppImages are fantastic. They're so easy to use. You don't have to have any kind of operating system or distro-specific knowledge to be able to run an app image. That, I think, is why app images have the popularity that they have.
Right.
And, to be honest with you, all things considered, app images are great. I can totally see them being the superior option in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to user-facing applications that don't need a lot of hooks and things into the system or whatever. Like PlexAmp. It just you sign into a thing and you just press. The app is within all of that. I think that's fantastic. A great way to get app image out there and show people that app image works. It's easy.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess it just doesn't have the steam behind it. That
and I'll say I think some of the other formats have enthusiasts for a reason. There's some things that make them good, but convenience here might be the key takeaway for an app image.
Yep. My final thought on this is something that I tweeted around January of this year, and it was I forgot what app image I was using. It was probably Bitwarden, but I know that making app images system-wide and easy and searchable in your little menu of whatever kind, it can be done. There's AppImageD, and then there's the other app image thingy that will integrate them into the system. What I want, I think, from a non-technical point of view, from just what the experience should be like, what I think would be fantastic is if when you double-clicked on an app image and it popped up like a DMG does on a Mac, and to install it into the system, you drag it right over. You just drag it into the folder and drop it, and now it's system-wide.
Yep, you drag it into your applications folder. Done.
That, I think, is, Mac had it right. For as
that
much
is taking it a step further than it is, and it probably would be an improvement.
Right, and that's what Nitrix did.
Yeah,
that was the whole reason that I enjoyed AppImage there, is because when you downloaded one, it actually took away that step.
Right.
Actually, I think that was probably the reason that I made that tweet, was that
might have been.
They made it so easy on Nitrix when you got an app image. It was just immediately part of the system. I would not mind whatsoever if I double-clicked on it and was like, hey, you got to install this. You just, big old arrow to a folder, drag, drop, done, and now I can use it however I want. That I think would be kind of the end game. If AppImage could get to that point, I feel like adoption would be a little easier.
Sure.
On folks, of course, getting people to actually make the app images is a huge hurdle, but as far as usability goes,
right,
I think that might be the way to get at it. And Simon also added a to the end of all of that conversation, he added a link to one of his blog posts on medium.com called "Make It Simple: Linux Desktop Usability," and specifically part 6. He's got, obviously 6 parts to this, and, he made a lot of reference to a lot of this stuff and how it used to be back in Next Step and early Mac OS days. How, I get it didn't look pretty. It doesn't have to look pretty. It just has to be usable. So you have to spend a lot of time thinking about how it presents itself to someone that doesn't know anything about any of this. And yeah, I think, way early on, Mac had it right. It was super simple. It was way less steps than Windows and an EXE or an MSI, right? Just drag, drop, done, use the thing.
You don't have to hit next 15 times and all that nonsense, right? Yeah. Pick which drive you want to put it on, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm in that camp. If you make app images behave like DMGs on a Mac, I'm happy. I would be a app image convert today. That would be all it would take.
That'd be cool. I Well, listen, I think they're great. I think the other formats are great too. I'm sure we're not done with this conversation of which, format your application needs to come down in. I don't think this is over. I think we'll have a lot of discussion for years to come. And everyone has their own opinion on it, and I'm sure they'll chime in on this too.
Yeah, well, we have the distro wars, so now we have the format wars.
Right.
So
yeah, why not?
Yeah, we'll keep talking about this forever. So if you have an opinion on this,
don't at me, bro.
Yeah. So don't at Dan, at me. I want to know what exactly is it that pushes you to like a specific type of format? Are you a Flatpak convert? Are you a Snap convert? Are you an AppImage convert? Do you not care at all? You just software works however software works. What's your opinion on this? Let us know. And I like this conversation. It's an interesting one. It's a technical one a lot of times, but it's a fun one to have. What? Hey, you tried logging on to Freenode lately?
Nope.
Your nick's gone anyway, Dan. You couldn't.
Oh, I'm sure they've changed my password. My nick is gone. I've been banned on every channel there is. I probably said Livet chat somewhere, and that banned me up. So
I had a big opinion on the format wars, but I haven't used IRC at all. In a very long time, except for very, very specific reasons to get on, and then I got right back off. So what has happened to Freenode?
Yeah, so I've been a pretty heavy user of IRC for a while now. We use it, very heavily in Ubuntu and obviously for Lubuntu. I mean, big on all of those things, but a lot of other projects are also there for support and chat and development and things like that. So I'm in a bunch of channels. I'm probably in 35 or 40 channels.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you are an IRC user. All right.
So, and I was on Freenode before the big demise, and I know this has been discussed in other podcasts and whatnot, so I won't get into that too much. I'll talk more about my experience. So in Lubuntu, we this started to go down, and the big takeover, if you will, from Andrew Lee, and we were concerned. So we had planned on moving to the other network, Livet chat. And so we started to make some plans there, and we started to announce said plans so that all of our users could find their way over there as well. But what we found was, in doing so, they basically took over our channels, and anybody that was an operator in those channels was not an operator anymore. And they actually moved folks into a sub channel, if you will. Like, instead of, normally you got the one little hashtag in front of your name, and then like if you got two little hashtags in there, that means you're like an off topic sort of channel or whatever. So they moved our support channel to # Lubuntu, and so then it made it seem not legitimate, if you will.
That was your first mistake, Dan. You can't talk about the rule 1 of Freenode is you can't talk about any other IRC anything besides Freenode. That's rule 1.
So much for freedom.
Listen, look. The freedom comes after we get rid of everybody that doesn't agree with us.
Well, we'll get into that because there's a blog post here that's just going to blow you away.
Ooh, boy. Yeah.
And so that was the beginning of the end. And so we had started to move people, and some people were still left behind. And then there's a big divide, and nobody knows where to go. And it started a huge chain reaction. And so once things, once the operators are no longer in control of their channel, you can't hardly stay. So that was a hurry up offense, if you will, for all of the other Ubuntu channels, in addition to not just ours, everybody.
Yeah.
And so there's a big ordeal with all of that. There's a lot of bots and stuff that, put stuff out into the channel so that, when a new binary. We'll say when a new binary happens in the Ubuntu archive, it shows up in the archive. It shows up in the channel so that everybody can see that, because there's a bot that's driving that. When a new bug gets created, there's a different channel for that so that you can see this new bug came out, and everybody can kind of watch that and see the new bugs and be able to triage them and whatnot. So there's a lot of usefulness in that too. So there's a lot of dominoes that need to happen. All of those needed to get moved over to the other network. And we did it in, I say we, I wasn't really me, but I did some publicity behind it. It happened in a short amount of time, much shorter than anyone could ever imagine, I feel like. So within a week, everything moved. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, as I'm watching this from the sidelines, I don't really have a dog in this race. But yeah, it took about a week.
Yeah.
And everybody was gone. And I was early on, I was one of the, you know what, just wait and see. Let's see what's going to happen with all of this. I mean, it can't be that bad, right? And I was wrong. It was that bad. It really absolutely 100% was that bad, and I don't fault anybody. You know, looking back now, I don't fault anybody for having that knee-jerk reaction of let's get out of here.
Well, so I don't really know the ins and outs of the politics behind the network and the network, the network operators, if you will, the volunteers that were running all that. I don't know those people personally, and I don't know any of the details behind all that. I just know that it went really south, and we had to move real quick.
Well, the day that all of the are they called ops? Is that the
operators? Yeah, ops.
All the top dogs on that.
Oh yeah.
All had a resignation pre-filled out, ready to go at the press of a button.
Yep.
That was something's going down.
Yeah.
When something like that, a coordinated resignation like that is going to happen, that's the first sign of trouble.
Yeah, and so that was definitely the first sign of the trouble, and so then we all followed. But shortly thereafter, like a couple of days into that, they started blocking IRC Cloud. And that's a really popular service so that people can stay connected to channels and use a web page to get onto the IRC, and it just stays connected in the background. So you can look at the log history, if you will, of what happened in channels. And so that's nice if you don't have an IRC client or a bouncer or one of those things to be able to look at the history. And so once they started blocking that, I think that was really the nail in the coffin, or at least what I noticed. Once that happened, you booted up most of your users off. So
right, and I mean, because it sounds like to me that the intent for that is to create their own version of that,
and they did, I guess. They sort of have their own thing going on now.
Right,
but I don't know how much I trust any of that.
Right. So, I don't know, just this fishy thing after fishy thing. None of them on their own, I think, was enough to really... other than,
once I started... once I started scratching the surface on some of the Lee-owned things, like between both Lee brothers, Andrew and Alex, it just looked very connected. And it seemed very shady in addition to, or at least I don't know how you feel about it, Leo.
Well,
but
like I was saying, I mean, the things in isolation weren't necessarily that bad until the turning point for me on this, we'll give them some time. Maybe they'll figure it out, was when they started banning people for advertising additional channels all over on Libera or on a different whatever. The moment they did that, that was my 180 moment for,
right.
Yep, okay, well, there goes all of the benefit of the doubt. There's no doubt in my mind these guys are going for some kind of takeover to, I don't know what it's for. I don't know why you would alienate everybody
that
has been on the most popular. What do you call Freenode? What actually is?
It's an IRC network. Yeah, IRC network.
Network. There you go. Right. Why would you alienate the most popular network? And we've seen it in the charts.
Oh yeah, it's one is going up like this, and the other one is going down like that.
Right.
And they've crossed a while ago now, and it's shades different. Yeah, it really is. So in my discovery of the companies themselves, I feel like there's a lot of shell games going on there, and no exact pun intended on that, because that is one of the names of the companies, right?
Shells.com.
That wasn't an intentional pun, even though it works out that way. Because it seems the imperialfamily.com page is what kind of leads you as the opening of the umbrella, and then there's all these other things that fall underneath. And Freenode.
It looks like some stock WordPress theme with a few things that they do.
Yeah, there's not a lot of substance to that page.
Yeah.
But when you start diving down in, like shells and Freenode and irc.com, all of those things are underneath. And that was it. Just, I don't know. It seems weird to be organized that way. If you're not intentionally doing something. Why are you doing it that way? I guess I have to wonder.
Mm-hmm. So what about this thing on irc.com? So introducing irc.com by Freenode. What's your take on this thing?
Well, I got to read this because it almost doesn't make any sense. And the only way I don't know what it means, but I'm going to read it. One score and a little over 2 years ago, IRC was created by the great and honorable Jarkko
Oikarinen.
Oikarinen. Yeah, that sounds good. It's had its ups and downs from the era of net splits to the era of cancel culture. However, we're proud to announce that we've completely drained, obliterated, in parentheses here, the swamp, removing the shackles on progress, and now we're sailing the blue seas. Yar! Now we go onwards.
So
there's
a lot of there's subtext here. They're one score and a little over 2 years ago sounds a lot like 4.7 years ago, and so it's hearkening back to this U.S.-centric idea of freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into current, I guess, socio-political climate of
with the cancel
culture and all of this, and then that there's a finer point on that with the drain the swamp thing.
Eesh.
And now we're sailing. So because of all of that subtext just leaking off of those first couple of sentences, I can't help but see some kind of subtext on the sailing the blue seas and a yar, like piracy.
Yeah, we're pirates and we took it over, or what does that mean, right?
Like. That is exactly what it sounds like. We have boarded your ship and kicked you all off, and now we are, look at me, I am the captain now. Like, that's what that sounds like to me. So already
that just doesn't feel good at all, does it? No, that's crazy.
Yeah. And it was on purpose, though. Like, you can't let, and it's only 2 sentences, but you can't let those sentences go out on irc.com as one of the most popular posts on this website so far and not know what that sounds like.
Yeah, no, it had to be intentional. It had to be intentional.
Oh.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to spin that into a good.
Me either. Unless you're a freedom-loving pirate, I guess. That's it.
I like freedom, but I'm not sure about piracy.
Yeah. And they go on and talk about the Freenode Digital Autonomous Zone.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's all about freedom unless you want to talk about going to LePés, in which case your freedom doesn't matter, and we're going to kick you off the entire network if you even venture off to pretend to talk about any other network. Because it wasn't just LePés. It was
OFTC, probably any of them, yeah.
Right. Anybody posting any kind of escape hatch in any channel whatsoever that the folks that are going to ban you for.
Honestly, even if you switched mediums and you went to like Matrix or
right,
you went to Discord or one of those places, they weren't happy about that either.
If there was an escape hatch, that's not freedom.
No.
So, okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, okay. So further on in the write up, they've got a desktop and a web app, and that's really cool. You can use server bnc.freenode.net at port 6697 with SSL enabled. Great. You can enter in with a username and a password and all that kind of fun stuff. So that's cool.
Yep.
But so
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. I just want to talk about the ending of this blog post.
Right. So the Freenode is IRC, that part.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so at the end of this, I mean, they do their normal thanks and, power of the people cannot be stopped and hooray. But then you end on this. Freenode is IRC. Freenode is FOSS. Freenode is freedom. Except for in the ways that Dan and I have been discussing this entire time, right? Of course, not that freedom. That's the different kind of freedom that doesn't include, not included asterisk here.
Not your freedom.
This last sentence is what gets me. Ask not what you can do for Freenode, but what Freenode will do for you. So another U.S.-centric, harkening back to
absolutely.
John Kennedy.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And then IRC is back. Where did it go? It was always here. People were using it the whole time.
If anything, I don't think so, because I think there's fewer IRC users now than there was before, even if we combine all of the networks that we've got going on.
Yeah, Discord's enjoying a few extra users about now, I would imagine.
Discord, Matrix, I think they all are, right? I mean, probably Telegram, even, the list goes on. It's probably not IRC at this point.
Yeah, definitely. So that's been a journey.
It sure has been.
I don't know what they're on about. I really don't. And I don't know where they plan on going, and I don't know what the users that are sticking around
well, that's the big
are
thing.
hoping to get out of it, right?
Yeah, and like you said, I can understand hanging around to see what's going to happen. Well, it's happened. So I think you got, like that blog post, if that doesn't paint the picture, I don't know what does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Housekeeping.
Time
Oh,
to clean your room. It's so dirty in here.
yeah, lots of papers back there.
Shuffle, 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 shuffle.
The Linux community has some fantastic members, and we want to make sure to highlight that. Our showcase this episode has Biddle, or Big Daddy Linux Live. So Nate, except
not the same.
It's not the same Big Daddy anymore. No, Nate has done a fantastic job of bringing Biddle back, and while he's been at the helm steering the conversation, I think he's done an excellent job.
Absolutely. I haven't joined since Nate took over, but I have watched and brigaded the as much brigading as a single person can do, the chat.
Yep. Yeah, I've been in the YouTube chat a little bit too, and certainly watched back.
It still has a lot of that old feel. I mean, we might not have the same host, but we certainly have the same love for Linux and everything else that came with our Saturday Night Biddle.
Yeah, so you can join in live on the show if you want, even, or on the YouTube chat, or you can watch it back on YouTube. Every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll let you do your math to figure out what that converts to in your time zone.
Look, here's the deal. You don't even have to. You just go to YouTube and then go to the Biddle channel, and if it's queued up already, it'll tell you exactly when it's going to happen. Google does the magic for you.
That's
you don't
true.
have to math at all.
Yeah, well, that makes it even better. Feel free to send your emails to contact@linuxuserspace.show, and we can have a discussion about them on the show. Oh, next thing. We appreciate all of our sponsors on Patreon. And I don't know that we've been doing a stellar job of meeting all of our goals there on Patreon, but there is only 2 of us, in case you haven't noticed, and we're going to try to meet those things a little better this season. That's one of our goals here. So.
Oh, we got it. I mean, if it comes down to giving you guys the raw show, I mean, that's what we're going to do. You're going to get it early. That's the deal. That's the whole point of having all of those tiers and doing all of those things is that, we hold up our end of the bargain. So we'll definitely do that.
Yep. Yeah, we hope we didn't bite off more than we can chew, but I think we can try to deliver a little better. And we absolutely appreciate each and every one of you. Please follow us on Twitter at Linux User Space to get all the latest announcements for this show and highlights for things that impact your user space. There's possibly a little cheeky banter going on there as well.
Always.
Mm-hmm. We have our growing Telegram group. Well, I don't know how much growing it is done lately, but we still have it, and we have a lot of good conversation going on over there. Even had some today. You can find out more at linuxuserspace.show/telegram to continue. One of the things that has been growing is our Matrix channel. So, yeah, please hop on over to the Matrix channel and join in the conversation over there. I'll have the links down in the doobly-doo. And if, none of those things are your jam, we got Discord, and, I'll also have the link for that as well down there. Lastly, don't forget to rate this podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast application, and like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, where we got the video. Hopefully, we're going to have video this time.
Yeah. OBS, don't crash on us now.
Please no, please no, please no.
Are you ready to focus, Dan?
I'm focused.
We're going to focus.
I'm so focused.
App on focus. Focus on the app. We're going to
focused.
focus on an app, a specific app. This app is...
Wait a minute, I got a tier.
Oh, Teary? No Teary.
No tier.
Just Geary.
There it is.
That's the one. So, Geary. One of the most boring apps we could possibly choose. But I mean, for a boring thing, I think it's one of the best apps that we could choose.
Yeah.
Gary's an email client. I mean,
it is.
How much more boring can you get?
Well, they're all kind of boring, and honestly, when you look at the dearth of mail clients for any operating system, having one that stands out is kind of nice, I think.
Yep. So I stumbled across Geary, not like I didn't know its name, not like I didn't know it existed, but I didn't know that I wanted to use it until I had mentioned earlier in the show that I use Pop! OS a little bit more, kind of on a day-to-day. And the default installed email client on Pop! OS is Geary. And I didn't know Geary was going to hop into my life.
Right.
Because I had tried it before, and I installed it via Flatpak. It's super easy to get a hold of, blah, 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 and it's great for, email services that don't require really high technical standards, and I don't even know if
OAuth
Google's...
and whatnot,
Yeah, I don't know if Google's OAuth is a really hard technical standard to add to an email client, but Geary ain't got it.
Right.
So I tried Geary at the first over Flatpak. I tried to do Google Mail, and it was like, you basically have to turn off a lot of security features of Gmail to be able to use it on Geary. And I'm like, nope, uninstall.
That defeats the purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Why do I want to do that? So what I found out later on, though, was I wanted to integrate Drive into Pop! OS because GNOME has that and you can do it really easily. But what I didn't bank on was Geary working as well, because it didn't work in the past and it wasn't native, so it didn't do OAuth, but somehow through the magic of GNOME and their ability to work with OAuth, Geary works.
Right. Yeah.
What?
I don't know, but I think having that tight integration to the operating system or desktop environment in this case, I think that's kind of a nice thing. It makes it feel very native and not a bolt-on thing, which most mail clients sort of do. Not saying they
Right.
don't work well. It's just, it's not a bolt-on. It's built in.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, just as a matter of course of getting integrated into Pop! OS, Guthery just works. Hooray! And so it, I was already playing with email clients. Thunderbird, everybody knows about it. Most folks use that.
It's a bit of
I
a
guess
Swiss
they're
Army knife. It's, I get it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. So, and that worked with Gmail just fine. But the simplicity, I think, of one app, one purpose is really what got me to enjoying my time with Guthery. It moves all the other junk out of the way, and all you're doing is email. So I enjoyed not having to let Gmail forget that I was logged in the middle of a session. I mean, what is up with that? Seriously, stop kicking me out, Google.
Right.
But right, so I mean, Guthery is always on. If you leave it running in the background, you get immediate notifications, the same as you do on your phone, and that was just nice.
It is nice.
So I've really gotten to use this email client thing, and I didn't think I would ever be here. I didn't ever think I would be. I don't know if nerdy is the right word, but nerdy enough to use an email client when I could just go to the web interface and use it just fine or whatever. But
yeah, I mean the web interfaces are really good for the most part.
Yeah, it is.
But having a client, I don't know. I've almost always had a client, and I feel like that's a good way to go.
Right. Well, I guess that makes you a nerd, Dan. And I'm in
Well,
that
I know
group
I'm
now.
a nerd. Hands down, buddy.
Yeah. But I'm in that boat now, and I don't know that I would like to go back to just the web interface. Just the way that it handles my emails is just, it's nice. It's again, I think it's just the simplicity of it all. Like, I don't have a lot of meat to put into this section because it's simple. That's really just email. That's all it does. And it gets out of your way when you don't want it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think that's the thing to highlight is it is simple and it works. And yeah, why not?
As long as you're integrating it in with GNOME.
Right.
But yes, that's the deal. But the benefit, like I was mentioning before, was that when you do integrate it with GNOME, you get all the other stuff too, like Google Drive, and you can just click on it and boom, there are all your Google Drive things you can upload and download, and all of that. It makes sharing files with Dan really, really easy.
Yeah,
so-
we use Drive. We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, you said that like it was a confession.
A bit. Like, I don't know.
little
We don't
bit.
have something hosted. I mean, I
Look,
feel...
here's what we're gonna do. Me and you are gonna set up sync thing. And then we're just going to put all of our audio stuff in there, and we're just going to sync it between each other. And that's maybe.
Well, that
maybe
sounds
that's
better
our-
than the
our
alternative
solution.
I had in my mind, which was like spinning up a Nextcloud instance. Not that that's hard, but,
No.
having something that, had a bunch of storage attached to it. And one of us has got to go in and maintain and those sorts of things,
Exactly.
right? Like,
And
not saying I,
I
can't,
imagine-
and it's not terribly difficult. I just don't want to.
right. And again, Dan mentioned that it's just two of us right now. And,
Right.
that may not be what the cards hold for us in the future, but I mean, the fact that it is two, we gotta skim a little off the top. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you're not
sync
wrong.
thing, I think, might be a good solution. So, if you're listening and you have an easy solution for us to get files back, and Firefox Send was going to be amazing.
It was.
Until it
There's other
wasn't.
alternatives there too, and maybe we'll have to explore that a little further. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's nice not just sharing the files back and forth so much as having a repository, if you will,
Right.
to store those things long term. That is equally a backup as well as a place to share. Because let's face it, I have files in 3 different locations here, and you probably do there. But that doesn't share them well. And having them off-site someplace, well, that would be great.
Yeah, right. So that would be nice. But at the very least, as long as we can both have the files and we can each take our backups, that's gonna
I think
likely be enough.
it probably is. I'm just paranoid.
I know, I am, and that's exactly why the caveat was we each take our backups.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
way, right? Because backups equals backups minus 1. That's the equation, and that's how many backups you have.
And that brings us to next time, where we'll have some more great topics of substance, because it'll be a topic-based show. Because
all the substance, right? Because,
all the substance.
It's going to be super thoughtful, and we're going to spend a lot of time researching everything.
Absolutely.
And, bringing you only the cream that rises to the top.
Absolutely. And that's because we haven't announced our next great distro, which will be
Da-da-da-da-dun.
KOS.
Windows 11.
No, never.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, we're going to do KOS, or affectionately called Chaos at times.
Chaos.
Which is...
Wait, so isn't that just Windows 11?
Yeah, that
Chaos?
might be Windows 11. Chaos might be the Windows 11. You're right about that.
Well, with all the Twitter fluffer whatever is that's going around making the comparisons between KDE Plasma and Windows 11, it may not be that far off, right? Because Chaos is based off of
Yeah, it's KDE Plasma, so it's a guarantee to be a good time. It's a special case though, so it's one of the independent distros that we wanted to hit, and I think we have a goal to hit most, if not all, of the independent ones, at least so that we can discuss the history aspect of them.
Yeah, because knowing where you come from makes a big difference.
So we'd love it if you'd follow along and give us some feedback on that. As well, if you have any feedback or topics that you'd like to see discussed, please shoot those to us as well.
Yes. Before we even started recording the show, Jan in Telegram had a really good question about security in Linux. So that is something that I want to put a pin in, and that's something that I want to talk about next episode. Right? Dan, how do you secure your stuff? Stop. Don't say it. That'll be for next time.
Yeah, turn it off. That's the most secure.
Yeah, exactly, right? You just unplug it from the internet, and you can't get any viruses that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you use your DVD drive or pick up a flash drive off the parking lot. That's always a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and for your support. Where can we find you, fine folk?
You can find me at KC2BEZ.
And you can find me at Leo Chavez on Twitter. Join us in 2 weeks when we return to the Linux user space.